The round of the kingdom and the divine will in Lent and Holy Week, praying with the servant of God, Luisa Piccarreta, the little daughter of the divine will. May the kingdom of the divine will come to reign on earth. Fiat. My Lord Jesus Christ, come, fuse me in your thrice holy divine will, now, Lord. Come pray in my praying. May these prayers be prayed on behalf of all people of all time, past, present, and future, from fallen Adam to the last creature created. Lord, may these prayers be placed on the lips of every soul, in their minds and their hearts, for the sole purpose of loving you, Lord, giving you that love with which you love yourself already within the thrice holy Trinity. Fiat. Wednesday Midmorning. Antiphon. Jesus, I give you your love to quench your bitternesses. Round of Creation 10. Prayer. I give you your sacred heart to relieve you from our coldness, lack of correspondence, ingratitude, and the little love of the creatures. I give you your harmonies to cheer your hearing from the deafening blasphemies it receives. I thank you and I worship you through each movement of creatures. I thank you and I worship you in each act of creature. I thank you and I worship you in all the acts of creatures. I thank you and I worship you in all acts of creatures in the past. I love you. Your kingdom come. Oh, please let it be known, loved, and possessed by the human generations. I thank you and I worship you in all acts of creatures in the present. I thank you and I worship you in all acts of creatures in the future. I thank you and I worship you everywhere where the divine will is present. I thank you and I worship you in every place where the divine will is present. I love you. Your kingdom come. Oh, please let it be known, loved, and possessed by the human generations. I thank you and I worship you in order to requite the supreme love. I thank you and I worship you for so much love toward the creatures. I thank you and I worship you for all. I thank you and I worship you with all. I thank you and I worship you in all. I thank you and I worship you in the hearts of all. I love you and pray you that your eternal fiat be known, and just as it reigns triumphantly in heaven, it may come to reign triumphantly in the midst of creatures. Prayer. I give you your beauty to relieve you from the ugliness of our souls when we muddy ourselves in sin. I give you your purity to relieve you from the lack of righteous intention and from the mud and rot you see in many souls. Antiphon. I give you your immensity to relieve you from the voluntary constraints into which souls put themselves. Reading. Volume 14, February 24th, 1922. My daughter, when I received the cross, I looked at it from top to bottom to see the place that each soul would take in my cross. Among so many of them, I looked with more love and I paid a more special attention to those who would be resigned and would live in my divine will. I looked at them and I saw their cross, long and large, just as mine, because my divine will made up for all that their cross lacked, making it longer and larger like mine. Oh, how your long cross stood out! So very long because of many years of bed, and suffered only to fulfill my divine will. My cross existed only to fulfill the will of my celestial Father, and yours to fulfill my divine will. One gave honor to the other, and since both of them had the same measure, they blended together. Now my divine will has the virtue of softening hardness, of soothing bitterness, of extending and enlarging short things. So when I felt the cross upon my shoulders, I felt the softness and the sweetness of the cross of the souls who would suffer in my divine will. Ah, my heart heaved a sigh of relief, and the softness of the crosses of these souls made my cross adapt to my shoulders, sinking so much into it as to make me a deep wound. And although it gave me a sharp pain, I also felt the softness and the sweetness of the souls who would suffer in my divine will. And since my divine will is eternal, their suffering, their reparations, their acts ran within each drop of my blood, in each wound, in each offense. My divine will made them be as though present at the offenses of the past, from the moment the first man sinned up to the present and future offenses. They were the ones who returned to me the rights of my divine will, and for love of them I decreed redemption. And if others enter into it, it is because of these souls that they partake in it. There is no good I concede, either in heaven or on earth, which is not because of them. Responsory. Jesus, give your ardor to burn all sins and all hearts, so that all may love you, and no one may offend you ever again. You have reached the end of Wednesday Midmorning. Fiat.